I have been married to my husband for 6 years. We have 2 kids together, 8 male and 4 male. Our youngest is special needs. My husband also has a daughter, 12, from a previous relationship. My husband's ex has had primary custody. My husband gets SD on weekends and alternating holidays/birthdays. This past weekend, my SD asked my husband if she can come live with him full time. Her mom recently moved in with her fiancé and his kids, and there's been some friction with that from what I understand. Nothing nefarious, just new house, new rules, having to share a bedroom, etc. My husband didn't give her an answer either way. He said he would look into it. When he and I were discussing it, I had the following objections. SD and our kids do not get along. It is something we have worked on for years, in and out of therapy, and it just ain't happening. SD resents mine for existing, and is cruel towards my youngest for their disabilities. There have been issues with her bullying. My oldest is very protective of his little brother and hates SD for being mean to his brother. He has started physical altercations with her over it. The truth is that most of the time we have SD, I make arrangements to take the boys to visit their grandparents, or husband takes her out of the house for daddy-daughter time to avoid conflict. I cannot imagine how living together full-time would be for them. We really don't have room. We have a 4BR home. Both my husband and I WFH so we can be a caretaker for my youngest. Due to the nature of his disabilities, it is really not feasible for him and my oldest to share a room. It wouldn't be safe or fair for my oldest. My SD's room is used as my WFH office space during the week. I arrange my vacation time and whatnot around her visitation so I can stay out of her space while she is here. I have to take very sensitive phone calls, and I need a closed door when I work, so common areas are out, and my husband uses our bedroom as his home office, so that's out too. We don't currently have room in the budget to make an addition to the house or remodel non-livable spaces at the moment. My husband hears my objections and understands them, but he wants to go for it and figures that everything will eventually work out. He doesn't want his daughter to think he is abandoning her. And I feel for the girl. It would be awful for your dad to say no when you ask if you can live with him. But I have my own kids to think about too, and I just do not believe that her living here is in their best interest at all, considering their history and our current living arrangements. Does saying no to this put me in evil stepmom territory? Edit, for the people who want to make me into an horrible homewrecker to go along with being an evil stepmom. Sorry to disappoint, but we did not have an affair. My husband and my stepdaughter's mom were never married. They were never in a relationship. They were friends with benefits. They bartended together, would shoot the bull, and would sometimes get drunk and fuck. My husband claims he needed beer Google's cause she really isn't his type. When my SD's mom found out she was pregnant, she told my husband she was keeping it and asked if he wanted to be in the baby's life. They never lived together, except for a few weeks during the newborn stage to help out. Yes. I had my first before I married my husband. My husband and I were in a long-term relationship when I had a birth control malfunction. My husband and I discussed what we wanted to do, and we both decided we wanted to raise the child. A few days later my husband proposed. I wanted to take time to recover from birth and wait until our kiddo was old enough to pawn him off on the grandparents for the week so husband and I could enjoy our wedding. We didn't get married until my oldest was 2. Edit 2, regarding my youngest son's disabilities, SD's bullying, and my oldest starting fights, since there is a lot of projection and speculation. My youngest son has both physical and mental disabilities. He uses multiple kinds of medical and therapy equipment. My SD has shoved him out of his wheelchair. She has pinched him hard enough to leave bruises. She has hit his face when he was having trouble verbalizing. IDGAF if this is normal sibling behavior. It is alarming enough to me that I feel it is best for my youngest to spend as little time as possible with her until this behavior completely stops, and I will say it has lessened quite a bit. We went through a period of it happening frequently, and it has slowed. The last incident was 2 months ago when SD grabbed my son's wheelchair and aggressively pushed him out of her way because he was blocking the hallway. One of the times that my son had started an altercation with her was because she had told my son that his brother was not a real person and that she was going to call the hospital to have him taken away so they could perform experiments to find out what it was. She went into detail about things they would do to him, like ripping his fingernails out. And yes, my son did lose his temper and hit her. My son was immediately disciplined, loss of tablet time, and we had an age-appropriate discussion about how his heart is in the right place to want to protect his little brother, but he needs to find an adult when something like that happens. This was not made up. Stepdaughter admitted she said it to my husband when he was able to sit her down and talk with her later in the day. I am not allowed to discipline or have parenting talks with SD per Biomom's wishes. I am not welcome to be a part of SD's therapy journey, mostly per Biomom's wishes. She does not want me involved. My husband has always been worried about rocking the boat with Biomom on these things. So I do not know the extent of what therapeutic treatments she has had. I do know she does go to therapy during the week, and my husband has gone to sessions, but it isn't something he is free to discuss with me. So I am in the dark about that. Edit 3, there's someone in the comments who claims to be my sister-in-law. They are either a troll or are mistaken. My husband is an only child. I don't have a sister-in-law. Update 1. So last week my husband and I sat down together and talked about SD coming to live with us full-time and how that would work out. It was a difficult discussion because As some Redditors had suggested, I really pushed hard for him to really think things through and figure out the obstacles. Where would he and I work? Common areas are out due to the nature of our jobs. I can't due to employer restrictions. He does some NSFW things and we don't want the kids to see. How were we going to handle the animosity and bullying between the kids? What consequences would be in place? We talked about what expectations would be for SD living here full-time versus just weekends. About how she probably has unrealistic expectations about what the nitty-gritty life here is like. We talked through very possibility we could come up with. Including out there possibilities like selling out home or separating our household and living apart for a while. We ran numbers to see how it may affect our finances. And ultimately we agreed that the answer was not yet with a goal for our family working towards it. And that the best course of action would be to slowly adjust the amount of time she spends in our home versus a sudden custody switch. So free night my husband took SD out to talk to her about everything. He explained to her that she wouldn't have her own room at our place for a couple years, but that is something that is on the top of the list for home improvements once our youngest handicap accessibility renovations are paid off. He talked to her about what expectations of living with us would be like. That she would have chores and responsibilities. And most importantly they talked about the bullying and laid down the provision that we needed to see her relationship and attitude towards her brothers improve before she can live here full time. SD obviously wasn't thrilled about any of this, but she said okay and that she would do better with her brothers. So Saturday I made arrangements for my parents to watch our sons, and we invited SD's mom over so we could all sit down and figure out how SD can start to spend more time here. And that is when it fell apart. Mom is not okay with a change in custody at all. Absolutely not was her answer. She took SD home early Sat. My husband tried to reach out to SD on Sun to see how she was and ask if she wanted to do their guitar lesson over Skype or something since her mom took her home early, but she never responded. He called SD's mom and she informed him that SD had lost her phone privileges. So we don't really know what is going on with all that. Edit, for those concerned about SD's mom violating custody arrangements, please note that my husband and SD's mom do not have a formal custody arrangement. There is no court order in place. They have always just worked things out between themselves. Yes. This is a very stupid thing that they have done. Yes. Asses are being bitten. My husband and I will not just go get her until we understand what we legally can and cannot do in our state and until we have copies of all pertinent legal documents to cover our own asses. While we do not suspect abuse, please know my husband is in contact with SD's mom and SD through her. He has not expressed concern for SD's safety. If at any point we feel that has changed, we will make immediate moves. Edit, turns out SD threw her phone at her mom's face, hitting her mom and cracking the screen. Mom isn't giving it back until SD has paid off the deductible. That is why she lost phone privileges. We do have alternative forms of contact with SD at this time. Update 2. My husband has a dog, though that predates our relationship. We also have 2 children of our own, one of which is severely disabled. He and his daughter's bio mom never had a formal custody arrangement, but due to some recent drama and changes, it became apparent we needed to get something formal and court-ordered in place. So we consulted an attorney. While on that course we discovered that my husband wasn't listed on the birth certificate. We had paternity testing done. My husband is not the biological father. He is absolutely devastated. He's spiraling. He's hurting so bad and I can't do anything to take his pain away. We've hugged and cried together so many times this week. He's not okay. He's flip-flopping through despair and anger. The anger scares me. His knuckles are all fucked up from punching something. He wouldn't talk to me about what happened. Shit is falling apart at home. My husband is in no place to be a father and partner right now. I sent our oldest to my sister's, but my youngest is having a really bad week with his medical issues. I think he picks up on the stress/mood of the house. We had to go to the ER last night due to the increased seizure activity. When I came home, my husband was fucking drunk. He became belligerent and demanded I have our sons tested too. He didn't even ask how our son was doing. I was so pissed off but held my tongue and walked out of the room. I left a few Gatorades and some aspirin next to him after he passed out. I'm trying to get him in to see a therapist. No dice so far. We haven't told SD or Biomom yet. We've already skipped one of our regularly scheduled visitations with SD, and another is coming up soon. So that is going to need to be dealt with ASAP. I just don't know what to do. I'm so afraid right now. I don't know how much longer I can hold things together. I want off this ride. Update 3. Some things are better, and others are a hell of a lot worse. Not long after I posted, my husband and I had the biggest, full-blown drawn-out fight of our entire relationship. I honestly cannot even tell you how it started. It was one of those little things that just triggered, and all the stress, anger, resentment and other negative emotions we have been feeling were just completely taken out on one another. I took the kids and left afterwards. I refused to come home until my husband got his head out of his ass and talked to someone about all of this. The silver lining to the big blowout was it did spur my husband on to start dealing with everything. He has been to his doctor and has been prescribed medication, and he has been looking for a therapist. He did a session with one, but didn't particularly click with them. He is going to pursue others as our finances allow. My husband and I discussed his drunken demand for paternity testing. I was able to express how hurtful that was to me. He apologized fully and has decided he does not need to have our sons tested right now. We've discussed options for what we'll do if doubt continues to linger on my husband's part, but as of now no testing is being done. Husband and I are both trying our best to show each other grace on this matter. The hell of a lot worse part is what is going on with stepdaughter. My husband had to take a few weeks without visitation to get his own emotions under control. Then we had our typical weekend visit. We did not tell stepdaughter or biomom about the test results yet, as we were still considering our options for the next move. My husband had ultimately decided that he still wanted a relationship with his daughter and still wanted to pursue legal custody. The attorney we had consulted suggested that with our state's laws and the established parental relationship, we should have a claim and could likely get court-ordered partial custody, but it would be a more complicated legal case. So that's all fine and dandy, but my husband in a very boneheaded move did not play his cards close enough to his chest with biomom. Several weeks ago, they had a verbal altercation. We have not been able to get in contact with biomom, her fiancé or stepdaughter since. We contacted the police who told us this was a civil matter and we needed to go through the courts, so no help there. Sorry. I wish I had a happier update, or more of an update in general. Oop, could you try reaching out to the county sheriff's office to ask for a wellness check on SD? We have attempted that. We live in a rural township and our police is the county sheriff's. They wouldn't divulge any information. So no dice. Oop, they wouldn't tell us anything. I don't know what the hell went down. The first person from the sheriff's office seemed like they were going to be helpful. They said they would send someone. I don't know what biomom said or did, but a second office came to our house and asked for documentation and told us we need to take this up with the court. Paternity testing is not happening unless we have a couples counselor. That's a hill I am willing to both die and kill my marriage on if need be. It will put him at ease and will build his trust in you. After the decade we have been together, where we have had zero issues of infidelity or untrustworthy behaviors between us, he should not have to be building trust in me. At this point in our relationship, the trust should be there. For me, the level of distrust that he has shown in accusing me of cheating, which is what a demand for paternity testing is, means that our marriage is in deep shit. There simply is no meaningful romantic relationship without trust for me. Giving him peace of mind with a paternity test does not address the underlying trust issues. So he may get peace of mind in that regards, but doing so will cause me to doubt the entire foundation of our marriage. Now on to second story. Parents dragged me across the US in an RV for their content, treating me like a prop, and I'm desperate to escape. My parents decided when I was only around 7 years old, far too young to get an opinion on anything, to pack us up and move into an RV to travel around the US. My dad works online and my mom makes content online. She's not huge by any means, but big enough that we get recognized sometimes and big enough that I've had a camera shoved in my face for as long as I can remember. For my privacy's sake I won't say anything else on that, and I'm using a throwaway account because I've gotten enough attention already and I'm sick of it. I sleep in a tiny bunk bed that I outgrew years ago, and the other bunk is the only space I have to put anything I own. I don't even have a room, just a curtain, and thank God I'm an only child, or else I would have to share the small space I have already. I was homeschooled for most of my education and then switched to online school at my own insistence for high school. I'm an 18-year-old girl. I don't have a single friend in person because the longest I've ever stayed anywhere is a month. I don't have a job and no way to get one because of not being stationary unless I find one online, which also mean I have no way to move out and get away from them. I've had conversations with them about all of this countless times, and they are so delusional and genuinely believe that a nomadic existence is the best way to live, so why would I never need anything else? I hate them for treating me like some pet they can just drag along in their plans rather than their child. I hate traveling, I don't like heat, I hate dealing with bugs, and I'm so sick of hiking. I can't wait for the day that I finally figure out a way to get away from them with their morning's hikes and cameras in my face. I've traveled around the US, yeah, but God forbid I want to have a normal life, go to college, or maybe even make some friends? Update 1. Hello. Barely over a week ago I made a post talking about my very negative experience living in an RV with my parents for around 10 years now. Despite it being such a short time since I've posted it, a lot has changed for me since then. I don't know how many people here would be interested in an update on my situation, but I know quite a few people were very concerned and would probably appreciate an update, so here it is. Also, fair warning, this is a fairly lengthy post. I have a tendency to ramble, so there is sort of a TLDR at the end. I had a lot of people give me really helpful advice, resources, as well as even offers to try to help personally, some being questionable admittedly, but a majority being genuinely concerned, wanting to try to help, and I very much appreciate that. It was slightly overwhelming, to be honest, and I ended up not responding to a lot of people, so you'll all have to forgive me for that. But even if I didn't respond much, I have been doing research on a lot of the information people gave me. Something that stood out to me was people asking if I had any family I could stay with, to which I had to respond, not that I know of, because I don't have anyone on my dad's side of the family, and my mom strictly no contact with her family. I did not know if they were alive, if they cut her off, if she cut them off, or even any details about them, and my mom had never wanted to talk about it. What information I did have was my mom's maiden name, which is pretty uncommon, and where she was born, which in terms of trying to find family can actually get you surprisingly far, I've come to realize. I've always had a slight hatred for the internet because I never had any choice in my life being public knowledge, and I know that once something is out there, it's out there, but for the first time I'm actually really grateful for the internet. I was able to find some information on my mother's side of the family, and specifically was able to find my grandma's Facebook account, though it did take me some effort. After a lot of stressing on how to approach messaging her, if I even should, as well as potential outcomes, I messaged her explaining my mom's life, who I was, and my situation. I won't go into details onto why my grandma and my mom are no contact, because that is not my story to share, but my grandma was appalled that she has a granddaughter she didn't even know about, and even more so the way in which her daughter raised me. I found out I have an aunt and an uncle, both of which my grandma told them about me and my situation. I've been in pretty much constant contact with all of them since just learning about each other. All of them want to help me get out of this living situation with my parents, and luckily with me being 18 now, it's actually possible. Again, I don't feel entirely comfortable going into details, but I have arrangements to go stay with my aunt who lives in a big city on the West Coast that had a lot of potential opportunities for me to start college or whatever I see fit, which I do plan on figuring out college, happy to announce. My uncle has kids, but my aunt lives on her own and has a spare bedroom which she has no problem letting me stay in for as long as necessary. I have a train ticket scheduled and purchased by my aunt and enough money to get to the station. I'm talking with my family, still feels weird to type, currently, and trying to plan out the details like how or if I'm going to tell my parents. My mom doesn't know any information on where any of her family lives, so even if I were to tell my parents who I'm going to live with, they wouldn't know where I was specifically. Someone pointed out that if I did leave without telling them, I should leave a note or some form of proof that I left willingly, so if I do opt out of a conversation, I'm planning on either leaving a note or filming a video explaining my plans and why I'm leaving, which would be kinda of ironic, wouldn't it? Regarding my mom filming, I've been very quiet around my parents and just refusing to talk when the camera is on, but neither one of them has mentioned it yet so far, luckily. Also, speaking of my mom's content, I would like to very much emphasize something quickly. Almost everyone was genuinely trying to help, but I had a few people replying trying to guess who I was. Luckily, the few I saw were basically torn to shreds and ended up deleting their comments. I also had a few people who messaged me privately trying to make a guess at who I am, which at least that's not public, I guess. Although I can understand being curious, I posted anonymously with very little personal information for a reason. As I stated in my previous post, I have gotten enough attention and I'm very much sick of it. I would very much appreciate it if you guys can respect that. Even if you think you might know who I am, please don't make public guesses, and understand that I don't want this to be even more public information tied to my name. Very long story short, I have set plans to leave as well as a safe place to go with my aunt once I do, and very much appreciate so people for being so willing to help. If you had told me not even 2 weeks ago that not only do I have a plan to move away from my parents but contact with family members I didn't even know existed, I don't think I would have believed it. Update 2. I can proudly announce that I did it and am in a safe place now, totally away from my parents with absolutely zero contact. My aunt is an absolute angel, truly. She's so kind, and that's not even including my grandma and uncle. When I first got here, my aunt as well as my grandma took me out on a little shopping spree, bought me clothes, decor and furniture for my room because I have one of those now, and honestly anything they thought I would need. My uncle has introduced me to my cousins. He has a younger son and a daughter who's very close in age to me, and I would say that we have become friends. I've been able to go out and do a lot of fun little things with her. My aunt is currently helping me research colleges near us, but has reassured me I can do everything at my own pace and there really is no rush, that her home will always have a spot for me. My aunt in general is such a cool person. She's someone I very quickly have started to look up to and have gotten close to. The more time we spend together, the more we learn that we actually have a lot in common. I'm just so grateful to all of them for being here and being so supportive. My aunt is also really helping me figure out who I am as an individual. For the first time, I'm in charge of my identity, what I share, and who I share it with. I dyed and cut my hair, got a nickname, and have been exclusively going by it. My cousin is currently on journey to help me learn about what makeup I like. She's also introducing me to her favorite music groups as a self-proclaimed cringe but free K-pop fan. I have an entirely private Instagram account with all of 5 followers and I plan on keeping it that way. I just feel like a normal teenage girl for once, and I've never felt happier. When I look in the mirror or just think about my life in general, I'm actually happy with it. I guess never realized that I wasn't comfortable in my identity as a person because honestly, I had bigger things to worry about. This is all more than I could have ever imagined, and honestly I have a hard time even processing it sometimes. I am officially in therapy though. So maybe I can start working that as well as processing my past, and how it plays into my identity in the future. My new therapist is actually the part of the reason I'm making this update. She thinks that posting this could be a good way to get closure to a certain extent. As sort of a way of acknowledging what I went through but also moving on into my new life because I have my whole future ahead of me, one that I am very excited to experience. So keeping that in mind, this will be my final update on here. I want to be able to enjoy my life and future while keeping my privacy. A lot of people really wanted me to share my story more, expose my past, but at least for now I've decided against that. It's my story and I can choose to share it or not. For once I have control over who gets to know what information about me, and I'm not willing to give that up yet, but I suppose I don't know what the future holds. So I'm asking as nicely as possible that people please respect that.